Alright, so I'm going to attempt to repair the backlight or the LCD LVDS cable on this 15-inch MacBook Pro model A1398 2012. Alright, so first we're going to need a Pentalobe 1.2 or P5 screwdriver. We'll also need a T5 or Torx 5 screwdriver and a T8 or Torx 8 screwdriver. Alright, so first we're going to use the Pentalobe 1.2 or P5 screwdriver and remove all the screws from the bottom. You want to keep the screws in order because they are different size, shape, and length. So the way I do that is I put the flat side down on my desk like that. In the pattern I remove them. So we have this rectangular shape. We're just going to remove them and put them in that rectangular pattern. Alright, so let's go ahead and do that. If my videos help you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share my channel with others so that they can also learn how to work on their devices and hopefully save them a bunch of money. Alright, if my videos end up saving you a bunch of money, please consider contributing a little bit to the channel. Every little bit helps and is greatly appreciated. Alright, and it allows me to continue doing this for a living to help save a bunch of other people more money. Alright, so let's continue removing all of these. Alright, the two back here are usually shorter screws. So when I took them out, actually someone mixed up a couple of the screws, so I'm putting them back in order. Alright, once we get all these screws out, we can take the bottom cover off. I actually cleaned out some dust in here earlier. Alright, so here you can see it's not too bad. Alright, so let's go ahead and disconnect the battery here. Oops, so the battery will look like this. Alright, let me zoom in actually and show you this. Okay, so the battery connector will look like this. So to remove it, what you do is you get underneath. I use my fingernails, you can use whatever works. Alright, but I get underneath the two corners like this, and then I just pull it up just like that. Alright, let's go ahead and zoom out. Once you disconnect the battery, what you want to do is open up the screen. Alright, and then press and hold the power button for about 10 to 15 seconds. This will drain any power, or it'll greatly reduce the risk of damage to the components. This is very important since we're dealing with the screen cable. Alright, a lot of times if you don't clear out the power, so it drains the power from the capacitors and things like that, and if you don't, it can actually damage the connector here or the circuitry that helps with the backlight. Alright, so anyways, once we've done that and with the battery disconnected, we're going to go ahead and remove these little rubber covers here. So usually if you lift it up, you'll see it's loose here, but there's an adhesive underneath the two screws here. So I take the screwdriver, get underneath in between. Let me actually zoom in to show this better. Okay, so I get underneath in between the two screws here, and then I help lift this up just like that, and here you can see the adhesive stays stuck to the bottom there. Alright, we're going to do that with the other side as well, so let's go ahead and move this over. Same thing, as you can see on this side there's no adhesive, so the adhesive goes across these two. So we're going to get the screwdriver under there, and then we're going to lift up in between the two screws. So in between here, we're lifting up, and there you can see the adhesive stayed in there. Alright, we're going to switch over to the T5 or Torx 5 screwdriver bit. Let's go ahead and start disconnecting things. So we got the LCD LVDS connector here. Let me zoom in to kind of show you how I remove this. Okay, so we have the connector like this. I use my fingernail to get underneath this little metal latch that's going around it. Alright, and then I just pop it up just like that. Once you got this latch popped up, you just grab this, and then towards the bottom of the latch, you just push on both sides to get the cable out. Alright, there we go. There's some dust in there. Get that out. Alright, now we're going to go to the other side here. So we got the wireless antennas here, and then we also got the eyesight camera cable here. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to pull this rubber piece back. There's some adhesive that holds it, but just flip it over. Alright, and it'll just stay back there like that. Then we're going to go ahead and go underneath here, and we're going to just peel up this. Let me zoom out a tiny bit. There we go. So we're going to peel up the adhesive from under here. Okay, so we're going to get underneath that, and we're going to unroute these cables here. Okay, so get that out just like that. Make sure to get all these cables out. Okay, just like this. We're going to go all the way across here. I'm going to put my finger here so I don't accidentally yank the cable up while I'm undoing the adhesive. So we're going to pull the cable slightly that way while we lift it up. All right, just like this. All right, there we go. So now we have this all disconnected. Let's go ahead and pop out the wireless antennas. So let's zoom in a little bit. So to get the wireless antennas out, what you want to do, all right, is get underneath the tail. All right, I use my 2 fingernails like this under the tail, and then I pull straight up on the tail just like that. Same thing with all 3. Okay, you can use tweezers or whatever works for you, plastic pry tools. All right, there we go. So now we got the wireless antennas out. Now what we got to do is get the eyesight camera cable out. So usually you can kind of grab the cable and just wiggle it like this as you pull it, but since we're not replacing the screen, we're going to be putting the screen back. To be safe, I'm going to use a tool here to do this. Usually it's best to use like a plastic tool like this, okay? And then what we're going to do is we're going to push on the wings here, and we're going to slowly walk the connector out. So we're going left and right, all right, from one wing to the other, just like this, slowly pushing the wings of that connector back, all right? And we're going to keep working on it. I don't know why this one is so stuck really strong. Normally it doesn't take so much strength to pull this out. So it's kind of strange. I'm kind of scared actually to pull this one. Let me try with the screwdriver, might be a little bit better. There we go. So here you can see, or hopefully you can see, I'm walking that connector out. Okay, so just like this, all right. Slowly going left, right. And that connector is slowly waddling out of there, okay? Let me switch back to the plastic tool now. There you go, you can see it's waddling out slowly. Okay, and there we go. So now we got the connector removed. All right, let's zoom out again. Okay, so now we got this out. Next, we're gonna use the T5 screwdriver to remove these little screws and brackets that help hold the hinge in place. All right, so right next to the hinge over here, I'm gonna take out this T5 screw here. All right, once you undo that screw, I like to keep the screw in there and then grab the bracket and lift it out just like that with the screw and everything. Okay, then we're gonna set it aside. Again, you want to keep this stuff in order because these screws are different size, shape, and lengths. All right, and also it's different on each side. All right, so we're gonna do that. I'm gonna hold the screw in place. Then same thing, we're gonna grab this and lift that out. There we go. All right, next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna open the screen all the way. So I'm gonna zoom out so you can see this. You're gonna be kind of looking at my lap, but let's go ahead and do this. Open this all the way, all right, until it stops. Then what we're gonna do, way too much, you can see my whole messy desk, but there we go. Now what we're gonna do, we're gonna flip this over here and put the keyboard side down on the desk. All right, just like this. You're gonna hold the screen up with your legs. All right, so just like this. Let me zoom out a tiny bit more. All right, so we're holding up the screen with our leg like this. Then we're gonna go ahead and switch over to the T8 or Torx 8 screwdriver, and we're gonna undo the 3 screws for each hinge, so all 6 screws here. All right. I like to use some thread locker to hold these screws in place as well. All right, so when I put them back, you'll see. All right, let's go ahead and get all of those out. All right, now that we got all 6 hinge screws out, we're gonna move aside and let the screen fall down 90 degrees, all right? And then we're just gonna lift this up, all right, just like that, okay? And there we go, we got the screen out. Let's go ahead, oops, let's zoom back in. You guys don't need to see my legs. There we go. Put this, move this out of the way. Okay, so next what we're gonna do, we're gonna remove this bezel here. So usually what you gotta do is you gotta slide this bezel over this way. So what I like to do, it helps, is holding it up like this. Sometimes this bezel is super difficult to remove, so you might have to kind of like pull it up and pull it down and keep wiggling it, all right? So as you can see, it doesn't wanna come out right away. So I'm kind of just moving it up and down. And eventually it should slide down. Man, this one is really tough. Yep, that's really tough. Okay, I'm gonna just have to keep working on it. Come on. Some of these are super easy to remove, and some of these are, I don't know why, but super tough. Come on. Wow, this is super tough to remove. I think what it is this little bracket holds it in place. I don't know if there's an easy way to pop that thing out beforehand. But usually I just keep working at it, pulling it like this. Come on, man, this thing is super strong. Can't get this one out at all. Wow. Yeah, this one's stuck real good. Come on. There we go. Okay. So it helped to kind of like squeeze it like this and then use my fingers here to pull down while I also pulled down this way. So here you go. You can see it. Hopefully you can see it popped out this plastic piece there. All right. We're going to put that back later, but for now we got to slide it back over and keep popping it to get it slightly slid over more this way. Once we get it slid over enough, we can actually pull this bezel out, but right now it doesn't want to go completely, so let's go ahead and try pulling it more. All right. Is that far enough? Okay. So now what I'm doing is I'm using my thumb to roll the hinge cover off. I don't know if you can see, but it's forming a gap. Okay. So that's what we want. We want to get underneath there. Okay. Might have to keep rocking it back and forth here. If you can get like the gap to open slightly, you can get under, and then you can kind of help pull this whole thing up just like this. Man, I don't know why this one is being so difficult. There we go. Try it again. Oh, there we go. It's coming up. All right, so we're gonna get under there. We need to also try and force out the other side here. So we gotta push this that way and then kind of lift it. So you can see it's kind of wobbling, but it doesn't want to come out all the way for some reason. It's very strange. Let's go ahead and pop this plastic piece off. So I'm gonna grab that and we're gonna slowly pull that out completely. So here we go. This is the piece we were trying to remove here first. Okay, we're going to set that aside. We'll put it back later. All right. Come on, why isn't it coming up? Pull this up. So I don't know why this piece doesn't want to come out all the way. As you can see, this piece is sliding, so that's what we want. Okay. But it should pop off. I don't know why it's stuck. Oh, there we go. Okay. So I don't know why it was so difficult, but here we go. We got it started. Once you get it started, then it tends to be a lot easier to get the rest out. So here you go. And then the bottom here, we're going to actually rotate this to get the other plastic piece out that's holding it, like the other side. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and kind of wiggle this, and then we're going to roll this back. Okay, so roll this backwards like this. And there we go. So that way this piece stays on there like that. Okay. Now we're going to set that aside. Now let's go ahead and see. Okay. As you can see, these hinges, let me zoom in. It's just like the other model I did earlier, which was a 2014 model. But here you can see the hinge is kind of wobbly. It's not as bad as the other one. This one is actually, it's a little wobbly, but not too bad again, like the other one. All right. So let's go ahead and fix the hinges first. So I'm gonna undo the screws and then I'm gonna add some thread locker to hold it in place. Okay. So let's open this up. All right, we're gonna use the T8 screwdriver for this. What we're gonna do, we're gonna pop the screw out You want to be careful. Actually, let's take the cable out first so that we have a little more room to work. So here they have an adhesive or this tape that wraps over. So what we're going to do, we're going to peel this tape up. Okay, just peel this tape up and out. All right, so this this tape wraps over the LCD LVDS cable. Right, once you get that tape up, you can go ahead and peel it back, hold the cable so it doesn't get yanked out. All right, just like that, and here we go. So now you can see we got this cable. It can kind of flip over and we can work on these screws a little bit easier. So now what we're gonna do, I'm gonna take this screw out here. Okay, once I get that screw, I'm gonna add some thread locker to it. All right, just a tiny bit. All right, just like that. We're gonna get this screw back into place. Make sure that it's parallel to the screen itself. All right, you want this to be like a straight line across. Right, then you can go ahead and tighten that down. Let's go ahead and take this screw out. Same thing, add a little thread locker. Get the screw in, and then we're gonna tighten it into place. Again, you wanna make sure it's straight and lined up because it can move around. There we go. And then we're gonna go ahead and tighten this down real good. Okay, make sure to tighten down both sides. All right, and you shouldn't be able to wiggle this anymore. Yep, it's nice and tight. We're gonna do the same thing with the other side here, okay? Same thing. This one's a little bit trickier because all the antenna wires are somewhat in the way. Let's go ahead and loosen this up. Okay, add a little thread locker on there. All right, I'm gonna get that screw in, tighten this down. Okay, make sure it's all lined up. Tighten it into place. All right, then we're gonna move these wires out of the way. All right, you might have to split in between the camera cable and the antennas. Just like this. Add some thread locker there as well. Okay, done with that for now. Make sure to keep these wires separated. All right, there we go. Get that screw in. Make sure to check that it's lined up. Looks good. Now we're going to go ahead and tighten this down. Be very careful not to damage these wires. Okay. All right, we're going to tighten this real good, just like this. Okay. All right, make sure it doesn't move anywhere. All right, that's super tight. All right, now let's go ahead and remove the screws here. I forgot to mention we're actually going to need a PH0 or a PH0 or JAS0 screwdriver. All right, and then we're going to go ahead and remove these tiny screws along the wireless board. This is the wireless antenna here. Okay, so we're going to remove these tiny screws. 1, 2. Again, keep all these screws in order. They are different size, shapes, and lengths. So there's these square cutouts where it's more like some have like a bigger top of the screw and then others have the smaller. All right, so there's a third screw we're removing. All right, fourth screw. Fifth screw. They actually alternate. Small top, big top, small top, big top. All right, so if you for some reason mix them up, just keep that in mind. All right, this is the sixth one, and hopefully that's all we need to remove, those 6 screws. All right, now what we're gonna do, we're gonna pull this antenna board up. Make sure that you did roll this cable back out of the way. All right, so we're gonna kind of wiggle this antenna, and here you can see we can lift this up now. This cable underneath here, let me zoom in and see if I can show this a little bit better. Okay, so this cable underneath here, usually like pops up. So this, we need to actually push it back down. Let's see here if you guys can see that. All right, so you gotta line that up and then just click it into place. Hopefully this doesn't mean it burned out the backlight, because sometimes when this comes loose, it arcs across, it sparks, and then it actually damages the backlight completely. So I'm gonna get that. All right, so that one's clicked into place nicely. It was loose, so hopefully once we click that in, it's gonna work. All right, now we're going to check the cable here as well. So just like the other side, we're gonna flip this latch up, okay, just like that, and then we're gonna pull the cable out. Just grab the latch and then wiggle and pull it back. There we go. And then we're just going to go ahead and pull it back in. Sometimes it comes loose and that prevents the screen from working. So hopefully once we get all of this back in, it's going to be okay. All right. Otherwise, this won't be worth repairing because these screens are like $500–600 or something. All right. Once you pull it in, flip the latch back down. We're going to get the wireless antenna board back into place. Push it all down. Wrap this cable back over. Actually, let's go ahead and put these screws back in first. Okay, so we're gonna get this one screw, the small one. Put that over there real quick. Okay, once you get that screw in, you can go ahead and wrap that over, and then you can go ahead and wrap the adhesive tape back over. Right, now we're gonna go ahead and put back the rest of these screws. Let's zoom out a bit. Okay. Go ahead and get back this screw in there. Alright, get back this screw in there. Alright, get this one. Alright, next one. Here. Actually, I shouldn't be putting these screws in yet because I'm going to have to test it first. And if this doesn't work, I have to get a replacement one of the LCD LVDS cable to try before I rule out that the thing is completely broken. All right, so that's the last screw for the wireless antenna. Let's go ahead and zoom back out quite a bit. Let's grab the MacBook base with the motherboard and everything back in it. All right, we're gonna zoom out more. Oops. Okay, so now we're gonna put the screen back in, same way that we removed it. You wanna hold these cables up and out of the way, all right? We're gonna slowly drop this into place, just like that, all right? Hold the screen up. I'm gonna use my legs to do that. All right, we're gonna switch back to the T8 or Torx 8 screwdriver. And we're gonna put the screws closest to the center of the MacBook. All right, we're only gonna put these two because we're gonna test it first. If this doesn't work, then there's no point putting all the rest of the screws back in. So let's get that. All right. Then we're gonna go ahead and reconnect this cable here. So let's slowly close the screen. All right, you wanna carefully, slowly close the screen just in case anything is like jammed in here. All right, there we go. I'm gonna slowly, let's zoom in here. Okay, now we're gonna get this cable back in, just like before, get it lined up. Slowly pull that and then flip this latch back down. All right, I didn't mention, but sometimes it could just be this cable, so you could actually test it with just this cable before you go ahead and remove the entire thing here. All right, so I'm gonna just move these cables out of the way. Let's push the battery connector down. All right, let's slowly open this up again. Make sure you don't accidentally smash this cable or anything. Okay, so I'm gonna press the power button now and hold the option key. If we're lucky, the screen will come up. If not, then the screen is likely dead. And there we go. We fixed another one of these screens. That's awesome. All right, so I'm gonna power this off. We're gonna take the screen back out and then we're gonna reassemble everything. All right, so let's zoom back out. It's awesome. I'm helping people save like hundreds of dollars on these replacement screens. A lot of people don't know. All right, let's actually pop the battery connector back out. A lot of people don't know that those screens tend to come loose. All right, we're gonna hold the power button again. I'm holding the power button again for 10 to 15 seconds. Again, it's very important because if you disconnect the screen cable and you don't do this power drain, there's a very good chance that you're going to fry the screen and then you did all of this for nothing. All right, so we're going to hold it a few more seconds. Here we go. All right, let's go ahead and put this back down. Let's go ahead and flip this latch up and pop this cable back out. All right, just like that. There we go. All right, let's go ahead and remove these 2 hinge screws that we put back in. Okay. In the past, before I didn't know about these screen cable issues, so it kind of makes me wonder how many screens that were just black screened. Though most of the time people bring me cracked ones. All right, so we're gonna let that drop and lift that back up again. All right, we're gonna set this back aside. Let's zoom in again. All right, so let's go ahead and put this stuff back together. All right, so we got this, we got all those little hinge screws back in. So this one now, again, we're gonna have to make sure, oops, we accidentally popped this out. So we're gonna go ahead, actually, we can go ahead and put this back and then we'll pop those little covers back in after. So start with it slid all the way over to this hinge on this side. All right, depending which way you're working on your MacBook, you might have it upside down. All right, so make sure you have it facing the same way. This part, sometimes it doesn't go in right, so you want to make sure that it's all going in properly. You might have to push this part down to get it underneath the aluminum frame. All right, so here you can see it's not going in right. There we go. I had to slide it slightly over this way. There we go. Now that we got all of that lined up, what we're going to do is slide that over completely this way. All right, now we're going to take this little piece here, okay, and we're going to put that back in. So we're going to tilt it up, make sure we don't damage the cables or anything, okay? So, oops, let's see, how can I show this? So we're going to hold the screen up like this, and then we're going to get this little piece here, okay? And then we're just going to slot it in. I know this is not easy to show, but all right, so we're going to get that back in there. And then what we're going to do, we're just going to use the screwdriver and then push these sides down. So you want to try and get the side over here in first. All right. I have to go from the other side here. Let's move it up slightly. All right, I'm gonna go to the other side and we're gonna pop in that little part that sticks out. All right, just like that. There we go. So it actually helps to pop this side first, and then I just stick the tool further and then pull that all the way. All right, so it's gonna flip it over and we're gonna put the other side in as well. All right, so we're gonna get this piece here, slide that in. Can be a little tricky, but there we go. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and pop this side down first, and then we're gonna get in there and pop that side in. Then you wanna check from the back and make sure everything looks flush. This one looks like it's still sticking out a tiny bit. Oops, so we're just gonna push it. There we go. All right, so now it's flush in there and flush on this side. Okay, so good. Now we're going to get the MacBook and put the screen back into place. All right, let's zoom out again. All right, again, we're gonna use some thread locker to help hold this into place. All right, let's grab the screen. Let's put the MacBook there. Same thing, hold the cables out of the way again. Slowly drop it down into place here. There we go. I'm gonna hold the screen up with my legs. All right, we're gonna go ahead and put the 2 inner screws again. Okay, I got some customers coming soon, so I need to hurry with this. All right, now that we got that, we're gonna go ahead and lift it up again and then slowly close the screen. There's all this junk stuck to their screen. I'm gonna clean that off later. All right, so now that we got it closed, what we're gonna do, let's zoom back in. All right, now what we're gonna do, we're gonna loosen these screws slightly. Okay. And then what you want to do is make sure the edges of the screen and the base are all lined up properly. All right, it wasn't centered or lined up properly, so I need to fix that. Okay, make sure everything's good and lined up. Once you got it all lined up, you can go ahead and tighten those screws back down. We are going to loosen them again later to put the thread locker, but for now we're just doing this to hold it into place. Okay, now we're going to take the thread locker again. All right, and we're going to go ahead and put the thread locker on all these other screws while we screw them back in. Okay, it doesn't need much, less than a drop, just enough to kind of touch the screw a little bit. There we go, tighten that in. Next one, same thing, add a little bit. Go, tighten that in. All right, you can go ahead and take this screw back out. Add some thread locker on there. Just a little bit, there we go, tighten that in. All right, I'm gonna move to the other side. I'm gonna do the same thing. This one you kind of wanna get the screw in first. All right, you wanna make sure that this cable goes underneath here. Let me zoom in a little bit here, sorry. Okay, so you wanna make sure that these cables go underneath this rubber piece here, okay? If you want, you can actually get all these cables in place first, so thread that back in there. Right, get that back underneath there. Make sure you get the eyesight or webcam cable in first, then we'll get these cables on top. Okay, just like that. All right, again, it helps to put one screw there first, and we're just loosely fitting that, so that way when we tighten this down, it will just keep it in place so it doesn't spin around. So there we go. Get that one in, tighten this all the way down, just like that. And we can go ahead and pull this screw back out. Add the thread locker. All right, get that, tighten that one back in. There we go. And then we're gonna go ahead and take this screw out and put the thread locker in there. All right, now we got all 6 hinge screws with the thread locker in it. Let's go ahead and tighten these all the way down. Oops. Okay. Go, nice and tight. All right, let's go ahead and reconnect all these cables. So let's zoom in here. Uh-oh, temperature too high, camera's overheating. Sorry about that. My phone overheated again, so anyways, let's go ahead and reconnect the cables. So let's zoom in here. All right, so grab the latch again towards the bottom. Make sure to get the corners in, pull the cable in, flip the latch over, click it into place. Make sure that this cable isn't over the screw hole, because if you leave it there and you put the screw in, you can damage that, right? Then you did that all for nothing, excuse me. All right, let's go ahead and reconnect the eyesight camera cable. So flip this piece back out of the way. All right, then we're going to just line up the camera connector. All right, then you're gonna use the tool just like before, and we're gonna slowly walk that connector back in. So going left, right, just like before. Okay. This cable's somewhat in the way, so you kind of have to hold it out of the way, and there we go. All right, once you get that cable in all the way, I'm gonna go ahead and get the wireless antennas. Okay, it's kind of a weird angle for me to work on it, but here we go. All right, make sure that the antennas are lined up properly. The way you know it's lined up is once you get it over, it won't really move around if you try and pull it back and forth, all right? And then you just click it down. Same thing with the other two. Get the cable lined up. You wanna make sure you have it lined up right. See, as I rub my fingernail over, it doesn't move. That's how you know it's lined up, and then click it in. If you try and force it down and it's not lined up right, then you'll damage the cable or the connector or both, and then you're gonna have a really tough time replacing all those pieces. All right, you'll most likely have to have someone else work on it. So there we go. Got all those connectors in. Let's flip this rubber piece back over. Make sure that the cables go in place underneath, and then you can go ahead and stick that back down on top. All right, we're going to get the T5 or Torx 5 screwdriver. All right, switch back, and we're gonna put back those little metal brackets that hold this into place. All right, just drop that into place there. All right, and then get the screw back in. You can put the rubber piece back on as well. Right, you want the longer piece going towards the center here. Gonna do the other side. Same thing, grab that little bracket, drop that into place. Right, and then tighten that screw down. Alright, get the rubber piece and stick it back on top as well. Right, now that we got everything back together, we're just gonna push the battery connector back down. Just like that. Get the metal cover, bottom cover, stick that back on top. Zoom back out. We're gonna go back to the Pentalobe 1.2 or P5 screwdriver. And then after we get all these screws back in, we're going to do a PRAM and SMC reset. All right, this is pretty important. Usually anytime you do any big hardware changes, you want to do this. It's basically like doing a BIOS reset. It doesn't delete any of your data or anything like that. If you're curious what exactly it is, you'll want to Google it because I don't know what all the details, but I usually will do this every time I replace any major hardware components. All right. So again, it's called PRAM, P-R-A-M, and then the other one's called SMC, just the letters SMC. All right. Okay, so we're just gonna get all these screws back in. Other than those two last things, that's pretty much all there is to this. So hopefully this video helped you guys. If it did, again, please make sure to like, subscribe, and share my channel. And then if it helps you save a whole bunch of money, please consider contributing a little bit to my channel so that I can continue doing these videos for a living and helping people out. All right. Almost done getting all these screws. Only got 4 left. Alright, last 2. Alright, there we go. Now let's go ahead and do the SMC reset. Normally when you do the SMC reset, you have the charger plugged in. When the charger's plugged in, as long as it's below 90%, the light will be orange. And then what you'll do is you'll do Control Option Shift on the left side and then the power button. If you do it right, the charge light will go to green and then back to orange. All right, that's how you know you did the SMC reset right. But I don't need to have the plug to do that. Anyways, now we're gonna do the PRAM reset. So power it on and then Command Option P and R. You should hear the boot chime, and then the screen, if it comes on, it should black out. That's how you know you did the PRAM reset right. You can let go right after that, or you can wait till you hear the second chime and then you can let go. And here you see the Apple logo's on and it's booting up, so we should be good to go. So we'll let it boot all the way just to make sure, but it looks good. Before it wouldn't even power up the screen at all. All right, so let's make sure. It's loading, come on. Alright, the screen just blacked out. I don't know if the battery died or what happened. So I guess something else is wrong with this, because even after we got the screen to come up, it just went black. So it's more than just the screen issue. Let's actually reset it one more time just to make sure. SMC reset again. Alright, give it a few seconds. PRAM reset again. I do see the screen coming on, so for some reason his computer's not really booting up. I might have to fix the boot sector of his computer. Maybe something else is wrong with it other than just the screen, because definitely the screen is fixed now. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Alright, let's drop this. Bye. Alright, so it turned out the battery was just low, so I plugged it in and now it works fine. So I think their battery is actually bad because it's showing 27%, but it was completely dead. Alright, thanks for watching. See you all later.